Ladies and gentlemen, I have the senior honor now to announce the arrival of the acting chair of the cabinet, may we always rise, Honorable and also the Minister of Justice of the Republic of Liberia. Please be standing while we take the national anthem of the Republic of Liberia. Thank you. Please be seated. Please now return forward to the national ceremony for the continuation of the program.
Honorable Chairman, Your Excellency, President Joseph Newman Sr., represented by the Honorable Minister of Justice, Honorable Chair, Honorable Ministers of Member States, Honorable Governors of Central Banks of Member States, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Director Generals of WAMA, WAMI, WAIFEM, President of the WAMA Commission, heads and representatives of regional and international institutions, special invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I have the most distinguished pleasure in inviting you to the joint opening ceremony of the Convergence Council of ECOWAS and the WAMS meeting convening here at Farmington Hotel in the beautiful city of Miami. And before we start the program, I wish to acknowledge the presence of the dignitaries in our midst here this morning. They are the ministers of finance, member countries, Benin, Cape Verde, Côte d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. We also want to acknowledge the governors of central banks of member states, Bissau, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. We say welcome to you all. So at this time, we want to invite for our opening remarks, opening address, the President of the ECOWAS Commission, or rather, we'd like to invite to the podium the host minister of this event, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Augustine Ngafwa.
Honorable Councillor Natu Oswald-Tua, Minister of Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Acting Chair of the Cabinet, representing His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boakai, President of the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Finance Ministers, the Central Bank Governors of ECOWAS, Member States, distinguished representatives of the ECOWAS Commission, Director Generals and Police from WAMI, WAMA, and WAIFEM, esteemed development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a profound honor to welcome you all to Liberia and specifically to the banks of the historic Farmington River. This river has carried generations of Liberians through seasons of calm and seasons of turbulence. Today, as we gather here, it reminds us that regional integration is also a river, sometimes slow, sometimes forceful, but always moving forward, or always moving toward a larger ocean of shared prosperity. Liberia is grateful to ECOWAS for granting us the privilege of hosting the 55th in-year Convergence Council meeting, and your presence here affirms our collective commitment to cooperation, macroeconomic stability, and the long-standing dream of monetary union. Esteemed colleagues, we are at a critical juncture. The ECO, the single currency our region has pursued with determination, has faced multiple postponements. But with July 2027 now set at the new horizon, the tide is rising. We no longer have the luxury of drifting. The current demands decisive action, rigorous implementation, and unwavering commitment from every member state. Liberia is pleased to report that by the end of 2025, we made substantial progress across all 6 ECOWAS convergence indicators: inflation control, fiscal deficit management, central bank financing discipline, reserve accumulation, exchange rate stability, and debt sustainability. These achievements reflect not only technical compliance, but a deeper commitment to sound governance and regional solidarity. Global economic growth is projected to remain stable at 3.3% in 2026 and ease slightly to 3.2% in 2027, in line with the 3.3% estimate for 2025. This balance reflects counteracting economic forces, including technology-related investment, particularly artificial intelligence, government spending, improved monetary policy, etc. At the same time, global inflation is forecasted to decline from 4.1% in 2025 to 3.8% in 2026, and then to 3.4% in 2027. Regional economic growth has gained momentum, rising to an estimated 4.8% in 2025 from 4.3% in the previous year. This improvement stems from better than expected trading activity, more favorable global financing conditions, and enhanced supply chain operations. Looking ahead, the medium-term outlook remains positive, underpinned by the expected expansion in mining and other natural resource industries and better policy coordination among member countries. There have been notable advancements, with 4 member states projected to satisfy the 4 primary convergence criteria by 2025, an increase from 2 in 2024. Furthermore, 8 member states are anticipated to fulfill at least 3 criteria, reflecting enhanced progress in regional macroeconomic development and convergence efforts. Current forecasts predict that Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, and Togo will achieve full compliance with all 6 primary and secondary convergence criteria as at end 2025. This represents a significant progression from 2024, when only a single member state met these requirements. Turning to Liberia, our economic reforms are gaining traction. Real GDP growth is estimated 5.1% in 2025, up from 4% in 2024, driven by strong mining activity and steady expansion in agriculture and services. Inflation has fallen sharply, and the exchange rate remains stable. Looking ahead, we project 5.4% growth in 2026, with inflation expected to further decline as compared to 2025. These gains are the result of deliberate policy actions, not chance. Distinguished members of the ECOWAS Convergence Council, let me assure you that Liberia is anticipated to satisfy at least 3 of the 4 primary convergence criteria and all 2 of the secondary convergence criteria by end 2026. Distinguished delegates, as we evaluate our progress, we must be honest with ourselves. Meeting the convergence criteria is not a ceremonial exercise. It is a test of discipline. The 6 convergence criteria are the pillars of a stable monetary union. Yet, the reality is clear. Although progress has been made in many countries, there are still challenges in meeting the convergence criteria in some countries, especially the inflation criteria. This is not a failure, it is a reality check. It tells us that the road ahead is steep, and the climb requires stronger legs, better coordination, and more consistent policy discipline. But let us remember, mountains are not moved by wishing. They are moved by climbing. And climb, we must. Distinguished colleagues, the journey toward the ECO is not simply about meeting technical criteria. It is about building a shared economic space that delivers real benefits to our people. A single currency is like a bridge. It connects markets, reduces costs, and brings communities closer. But bridges require strong pillars. We must accelerate reforms, harmonize policies, and strengthen cooperation. We must also confront the political economic challenges that have slowed progress. Recent developments involving certain member states require careful navigation to ensure that our integration agenda remains on course while respecting national sovereignty. In conclusion, let me emphasize that the task before us is both urgent and achievable. The convergence criteria represent more than technical benchmarks. They embody principles of sound economic management that will benefit our nations regardless of the monetary union timeline. Liberia stands ready to collaborate with all member states to advance our shared goals and agenda. The people of West Africa are counting on us. They deserve a monetary union that lowers transaction costs, facilitates trade, attracts investment, and improves livelihoods. Let us use this meeting to recommit, to innovate, and to act. The year 2027 approaches rapidly, and history will judge us by our actions, not our intentions. Thank you for your attention, and once again, on behalf of His Excellency President Joseph Nima Boakai and the good people of the Republic of Liberia, I welcome you to Liberia, Africa's oldest republic, where the Lone Star radiates over land and over sea. May divine blessings rest on everyone, and may God guide our collective efforts toward regional integration and shared prosperity. Thank you very much.
Dat was de woord of the Honorable Minister.
I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Augustine Behe Gaffron, for those very insightful remarks. Next on the program is remarks by the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Aliou Toure. Dr. Toure is being represented by the Commissioner of Economic Affairs and Agriculture, Dr. Kalilu Sila. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, sir. I'll be speaking in French, but I will give a message to my people who know themselves. Mr. Chair of the Cabinet of the President, Honorable Chairman of the Cabinet of the President, Honorable Minister of Sierra Leone, the Chairman of the Council of the Ministers of ECOWAS, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Governors, colleagues from WAMA, WAMI, colleagues from ECOWAS, WAMA, and ladies and gentlemen, for the press. I should summarize my speech in English before delivering it in French. The message should be the speed for the single currency is too low. We cannot, it's not acceptable that we wait to postpone again. And people outside this room, 400 million citizens of West African citizens are waiting for the result, signal from us. In our hands, we have hope from African citizens. In our hands, we have also to give them good news, signal for them. We need to do that because our children, the children of our children will run the world. I used to say that in 2055, Nigeria will be the fourth highest GDP in the world. It's our brother, very close here. Nigeria is very close. In the next 10 years following, or 20 years, we'll have Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, entering. So 3 countries in the next 100 years, I mean, let's say 55 years. It's very soon. Our children will run the world. We don't have it. We cannot give us ourselves the opportunity to not deliver this issue. Very serious. And you have it in your hand, and we need to deliver, and we need to give opportunity, give change to the people, women at the cross the borders, youth, waiting for the news coming from here. And when we deliver it, I know, I talk to my big bro, he knows himself, he knows he have to do something about that. Having said that in French now, Honorable Ministre, Honorable Président du cabinet présidentiel du Liberia, Monsieur le Président du Conseil des ministres des Finances et du Conseil des Convergences de la CEDEAO, Honorable membre, Honorable Gouverneur, Honorable représentant des ministres, Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi pour commencer d'exprimer notre profonde gratitude à son Excellence Joseph Boakai, ainsi qu'au gouvernement et au peuple du Liberia pour l'accueil chaleureux qui nous a été réservé et pour les excellentes dispositions prises pour la tenue de cette importante réunion. Je voudrais également saluer l'honorable Augustine Nkafwa, ministre des Finances, de la Planification et du Développement du Liberia, l'honorable Henri Samoa, gouverneur de la Banque centrale du Liberia, ainsi que toutes les autorités concernées pour leur engagement envers la demande d'intégration de la CEDEAO et l'avancement du programme de coopération monétaire. Nos remerciements vont aussi à l'honorable Sekou Ahmed Fantamadi Bangoura, ministre des Finances de la Sierra Leone et co-président du Conseil de Convergence CEDEAO-ZEMAO, ainsi qu'à l'ensemble des membres du Conseil pour leur engagement constant en faveur de l'intégration régionale. Honorable membre du Conseil de Convergence, le rapport soumis à votre attention fait état des progrès encourageants en matière de performance macroéconomique dans la région. La croissance économique s'est renforcée pour atteindre 4,8% au premier semestre 2025, contre 4,3% en 2024. Fait notable, 7 pays membres respectaient à la fois les critères relatifs au déficit budgétaire et à l'inflation moyenne. 12 pays ont satisfait aux critères de déficit budgétaire et 10 ont atteint le seuil requis en matière de réserve extérieure brute. Il s'agit de la meilleure performance enregistrée depuis 2019. Je vous demande d'applaudir cette performance. Ces améliorations démontrent que la convergence est possible lorsqu'on repose sur une discipline budgétaire rigoureuse, une mobilisation accrue des recettes et une politique monétaire prudente. Cependant, les disparités persistent entre les États. Les écarts d'inflation, les vulnérabilités budgétaires, les préoccupations liées à la vulnérabilité de la dette et les insuffisances de capacité institutionnelle constituent des risques majeurs. Ces réalités soulignent la nécessité urgente de renforcer le mécanisme de surveillance multilatérale, d'améliorer les processus d'examen par les pairs et de consolider la coordination des politiques entre nos économies. La Commission demeure déterminée à soutenir les États membres à travers une assistance technique ciblée, de consultations bilatérales renforcées et de orientations politiques plus claires et adaptées à chaque État. Distingués membres du comité, bien que les avancées aient été enregistrées dans l'harmonisation des politiques, les évaluations macroéconomiques et le développement du système régional de paiement, la mise en œuvre de la feuille de route de l'ECO demeure inégale et en retard. Ce retard risque de compromettre la crédibilité du programme de la monnaie unique de la CEDEAO. L'état de préparation du lancement de l'ECO doit être évalué de manière exhaustive. Le respect durable des critères de convergence macroéconomique, le renforcement des cadres budgétaires et la consolidation des institutions de surveillance sont essentiels et doivent s'accompagner d'une mise en œuvre complète des étapes juridiques, institutionnelles et opérationnelles prévues dans la feuille de route. La crédibilité est primordiale. Mesdames et messieurs, la crédibilité est primordiale. Les marchés, les investisseurs et les citoyens évalueront votre engagement à travers nos déclarations. Non pas à travers nos déclarations, mais à travers la mise en œuvre effective, intégrité institutionnelle et une volonté politique soutenue. Dans cette perspective, la Commission de la CEDEAO propose la réactivation de la task force présidentielle de la monnaie unique de la CEDEAO, afin de traiter les questions prioritaires en suspens, notamment les dispositions d'accueil de la Banque centrale, l'Afrique de l'Ouest, la finalisation de l'accord monétaire de la BCEAO, de l'accord d'union monétaire de la CEDEAO et les statuts de la Banque centrale de la CEDEAO, les modalités de substitution au capital, les critères de sélection des candidats, critères de sélection des États candidats pour la phase de lancement, les modalités de financement des réformes institutionnelles et structurelles nécessaires. Nous sommes convaincus qu'un engagement politique de haut niveau permettra d'accélérer les décisions et de renforcer la crédibilité l'activité du programme. Honorable ministre et gouverneur, l'Union monétaire n'est pas un objectif isolé et constitue l'un des piliers de l'agenda d'intégration régionale. La communauté a accompli des progrès significatifs dans la mise en œuvre du schéma de libération des échanges. Aujourd'hui, vous pouvez donc constater que toutes nos douanes au niveau de la CEDEAO sont interconnectées. Les douanes se parlent, on va dire, à travers les systèmes virtuels. L'opérationnalisation du tarif extérieur commun, l'application du protocole sur la libre circulation des personnes et des biens, la promotion des infrastructures régionales, le développement du système de paiement régional et le soutien à l'industrialisation. Toutes ces initiatives renforcent l'interconnexion économique, stimulent le commerce interrégional et accroissent la résilience en créant une base réelle essentielle pour la viabilité d'une union monétaire. Une monnaie commune ne peut prospérer que dans un espace économique intégré caractérisé par l'expansion du commerce, la diversification de la production, la stabilité financière et la cohérence institutionnelle. Distinguément, le contexte mondial est même marqué par les tensions géopolitiques, la volatilité des prix, le resserrement des conditions financières, les chocs climatiques, etc. L'intégration régionale n'est pas une option, elle est stratégique. L'intégration régionale constitue comme un terrain d'entraînement pour nos pays qui, mieux entraînés, vont conquérir le marché régional. L'intégration régionale, c'est aussi une assurance contre l'incertitude, une assurance contre toutes les fluctuations qu'on a au niveau mondial. L'intégration constitue en effet une assurance pour tous nos pays, pour les protéger des vents violents de la mondialisation et faire en sorte qu'ils puissent donc mieux s'intégrer dans l'économie mondiale. En renforçant la coordination des politiques budgétaires et monétaires, en consolidant les cadres de surveillance, en améliorant les mécanismes de résolution des crises et en développant des filets de sécurité financière régionaux, la CEDEAO sera mieux armée pour atténuer les chocs externes et préserver la stabilité macroéconomique. Conformément à la vision 2050, la communauté poursuivra des initiatives visant à promouvoir la paix et la sécurité, la gouvernance, l'intégration économique, la stabilité numérique, l'inclusion financière et le développement durable. Elle travaillera également avec les partenaires au développement pour tirer profit de l'innovation et des systèmes financiers numériques afin de renforcer le mécanisme de transmission monétaire et d'approfondir l'inclusion dans toute la région. Honorable membre du comité de Convergence, l'Union monétaire dépasse le cadre d'une réforme technique. Elle symbolise un engagement collectif en faveur de la stabilité, de la résilience et de la prospérité partagée. En renforçant la convergence, en consolidant les institutions, en accélérant la mise en œuvre d'un fait de route et en approfondissant l'intégration régionale, nous poserons les bases non seulement d'une monnaie commune, mais d'une Afrique de l'Ouest plus forte, plus unie, capable de résister aux chocs mondiaux et d'assumer une croissance inclusive pour nos populations. Alors, ce qui nous est demandé, c'est de donner de l'espoir à nos populations, c'est de faire en sorte que les enfants de nos enfants qui vont être parmi dans 50 ans, ceux qui vont gérer le monde, puissent avoir une monnaie commune aujourd'hui. Je voudrais donc, sur ce, vous remercier pour votre très aimable attention et en espérant que nous devrons donner espoir à plus de 400 millions d'Africains de l'Ouest qui sont juste à côté de cette porte et qui attendent des évolutions de cette salle. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sila, for your comments. I don't understand a lot of French, most of it, but I can guess that you are all talking about the need for us to continue to work together for the need for all of us to work together to ensure that we meet all of those common objectives that we have set forth. So we'll continue with the program. Let me remind you that before the acting chairman of the cabinet comes in, we'll whet your musical appetite with some music from the Armed Forces Band. I heard him play this morning, and I just thought it would be good to share some of the melody with you. while you are in here. So they will be welcoming the acting president or the chairman, acting chairman of the cabinet later on. So at this time we want to invite for remarks the chairman of the ECOWAS and WAM's Convergence Council, the Minister for Finance, Republic of Sierra Leone, Honorable Shiku Ahmed Fanta Madi Bangura. Let's welcome him.
Acting Chair of Cabinet and the General Minister of Justice, representing His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Ministers, Governors, Central Banks of Member States of WAMS and ECAO, representatives of the President of ECOWAS Commission, Director Generals, WAMA, WAMI, WAIFEM, representatives of regional and other international organizations and development partners, esteemed delegates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government and people of Sierra Leone, led by His Excellency Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Matabio, I wish to extend appreciation for your participation on the occasion of the 13th Ordinary Session of ECOWAS Convergence Council and the 54th Joint Meeting of the Convergence Council of Ministers, Central Bank Governors of WAMS and ECOWAS. Let me also register profound gratitude to the Council for reposing in Sierra Leone the honor and confidence to continue to serve as chair. And on behalf of the government, I reaffirm our sincere and unwavering commitment to the vigorous pursuit of and deepening of the ECOWAS economic and monetary integration agenda. I do appreciate also the government and people of Liberia for the warm hospitality and facilities that they have put at our disposal during the course of hosting these meetings. Let me also take the opportunity to warmly congratulate the people and government of the Republic of Guinea on the successful conduct of the democratic elections, a vital step that not only strengthens constitutional governance and political stability at home, but also deepens their contribution to ECOWAS, a regional monetary economic integration program, which depends on the credibility of democratic institutions, policy continuity, and shared commitment to inclusive and sustainable development. I would also like to express my appreciation to the DGs and staff of WAMI, WAMA, together with the expert committees, for their close cooperation with one another and with members states in advancing every dimension of the ECOWAS Monetary Cooperation Program. In the lead up to these meetings, the WAMS Technical Committee and the Joint Technical Committee of ECOWAS and WAMA held comprehensive and thoughtful discussions on the reports and technical documents prepared by WAMI and WAMA and ECOWAS and the expert groups. I warmly acknowledge the tireless efforts of the chairs and members of the WAMS Technical Committee and the Joint Technical Committee over the past several days. As chair of the Joint ECOWAS and WAMI Convergence Council, I urge all member states to be decisive, act with urgency, provide the unwavering support for the timely establishment of our monetary union. I want to remind us all that each additional delay erodes credibility, increases the cost of transaction, and risk entrenching fragmentation that will undermine the trade, investments, and macroeconomic stability in our region. If we fail to act now, we push further into the future the aspirations of our of the founding leaders of this initiative, who envisioned a single currency as a cornerstone for deeper integration, shared prosperity, and a stronger collective voice on the global stage. Monetary union, as you all will agree with me, is not merely the adoption of the common currency. My colleague did note that. It's fundamentally a commitment to shared discipline, coordinated policies, collective resilience. It demands that we transcend narrow national perspectives and embrace regional vision anchored in macro stability, fiscal prudence, and structural transformation. It is in this regard that the success of our monetary union will depend less on the symbolism of a single currency and more on the strength of our economic convergence and policy coherence. Honorable Ministers, certified governors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, global growth remains moderate but resilient. And with the IMF latest updates, they put growth at around 3.3%, both in 2025 and 2026, supported mainly by robust investment in artificial intelligence and technology, but also easing trade tensions, and still accommodative financial conditions in many of these large economies. Inflation headline is expected to continue to decline from roughly just above 4% last year to towards higher 3% in 2026, as earlier monetary tightening fully transmits, allowing some central banks to begin consciously easing policy, while others keep rates restrictive and inflation remains relatively above near targets. In the ECOWAS region, growth improved from 4.3% in 2024 to an estimated 4.8% in 2025, driven largely by trade, stronger trade, easier global financial conditions, but also better supply dynamics. The medium-term prospect remains strong, supported by rising extractive industry outputs, revived investor confidence, and better policy coordination among our member states. During the review period, regional inflation fell markedly from 24.5% in 2024 to mid-teens in 2025, and in 2/3 of our member countries, driven by more stable currencies, improved food supplies, tighter policy coordination, and also, although a few countries with structural bottlenecks still face double-digit inflation. While in 2025, fiscal consolidation in the region improved modestly, as stronger revenues from better tax administration, higher royalties for mining sector operations, and customs receipts helped narrow the fiscal deficit to 4.6% of GDP. Although spending pressures from the recurrent cost and rising debt service remain elevated. The region's public debt fell to 42.3% of GDP from 48.1% in 2024, mainly due to stronger nominal growth and tighter debt management, with most member states, including Ghana, which saw a large reduction recording declines, although notable differences between countries remain. Across the region, monetary policy varied according to inflation trends, with several member countries' central banks raising or adjusting interest rates to stabilize markets and curb price pressures. While money supply will generally ease as both net domestic and foreign assets grew more slowly. ECOWAS external sector remained broadly favorable, with the stable, though small current account surpluses of 2.2% of GDP compared to 2.8% in 2024. Strong export growth of 17.5% alongside slow import growth, and foreign reserve in many countries stayed about 3 months of import over benchmark. In terms of macro convergence, compliance with the main convergence criteria for inflation, fiscal deficits, and central bank financing and reserve adequacy is expected to improve markedly. By the end of 2025, 4 countries are projected to meet all benchmarks, up from 2 in the previous year, 2024. and 8 are likely to satisfy at least 3, indicating stronger progress on regional convergence. Honorable Ministers, Central Bank Governors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me also highlight recent macro development in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone's growth is expected to reach 4.4% in 2024, while inflation has fallen markedly or rapidly to 4.3% by December 2025, from 31.6% in mid-2024, driven by tighter monetary policy and fiscal policy coordination, a stable exchange rate, and improved domestic food supply that lower import price pressures. In the first half of 2025, fiscal deficit, including grants, stood at 1.8% of GDP, slightly above 1.9% recorded the previous year, while the primary balance showed a surplus of 0.4% due to stronger revenue mobilization and reduced subsidies and transfers. The government tighter fiscal stance helped push the 364-day Treasury bill rate down from 41% in May to 17%, where it stayed in mid-teens for the rest of the year, supporting improved debt sustainability as the debt to GDP ratio fell to 40.9% from 42.3% in 2024. Monetary policy remained generally appropriate, with the monetary policy rate repeatedly lowered to stimulate credit growth and bolster private sector activity in the context of falling inflation. Now, external sector performance in the first half was mixed, as gains from lower or narrowing trade deficits that improved the current account and maintained exchange stability were counterbalanced by a drop in gross reserves to 2 months of import cover by the end of June 2025. On the subject of macro convergence, Sierra Leone met 2 of the 4 macro convergence criteria targets, those related to fiscal deficit, central bank financing of the deficit, up from just 1 target achieved in the first half of 2024. Sierra Leone performance on secondary criteria remains strong as it continues to meet the benchmarks for both public debt to GDP and exchange rate stability. Going forward, we will continue to implement medium-term revenue mobilization strategy by introducing 2026 budget measures, such as broadening our minimum alternate tax, raising corporate tax from 25% to 30%, and aligning withholding tax on rental income with other capital income at 15% to boost domestic revenue by an additional 4.5 percentage points of GDP. The government is strengthening tax administration by assessing governance and integrity of our National Revenue Authority and preparing IMF-aligned compliance plan for extractive industry and large taxpayers, and modernizing our customs through an electronic single window system to boost efficiency and trade facilitation. Now, we are adopting a baseline budgeting approach to determine the full cost of existing programs and prepare more realistic budget estimates. We are also tightening cash management and capital expenditure analysis to prevent overspending and build up of arrears. In addition, we are moving to electronic public procurement to enhance transparency and are revising the public investment program to reduce our cost overruns of capital spending. Sierra Leone maintains steady progress towards deeper regional integration through sustained engagement with ECOWAS mechanisms. These include the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, Common External Tariff, Gradual AFCTFA implementation, participation in the Pan-African Payments and Settlement Systems, and improved statistical harmonization, underscoring its ongoing commitment to macro stability and institutional reforms. These developments highlight the government's strong resolve to build on existing progress and further improve performance on the convergence criteria. Sierra Leone stays fully committed to moving forward with the plan for introducing the single currency and to actively contribute to the creation of a solid monetary union. Honorable governors, honorable ministers, governors of central banks, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I just want to shed light on the fact that the remaining obstacles of the ECOWAS single currency are not primarily technical, they are political and collective. They revolve around questions of sovereignty, burden sharing, a sequence of reforms, and the distribution of benefits and responsibilities across member states. This is where leadership matters. The Convergence Council must rise to the level of history and ensure that we embrace cooperation over unilateralism, accept that no member state will obtain all it wants in the exact form it desires, and recognize that compromise is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of maturity and strategic vision. The following days of deliberation of the Joint Technical Committee and the Convergence and the meeting of governors of ECOWAS and WAMS, it is clear that the member states and the region, as member states and the region, we must continue to strengthen and renew our commitments to discipline convergence, strengthening surveillance, structural transformation, collective preparedness. Several timelines for ECOWAS single currency have been set and missed. Roadmaps have been agreed upon and revised. New target dates have been announced, only to be overtaken by events and hesitation. Furthermore, despite the achievements recorded in the implementation of activities under the ECOWAS roadmap for the launch of ECO, the status of 130 time-bound activities showed a mixed picture, with 38% fully completed, 3% have started but yet to finished, 47% missed their deadlines, 12% are still within their structural timelines, and for the 5 ongoing activities without fixed end dates, the implementation rate is 40% as of the end of 2025. In today's meeting, there are concrete decisions before us that we can no longer afford to defer, as the credibility of the single currency agenda and of this council itself depends on its ability to deliver on these decisions. We should be able to quickly agree and/or adopt recommendations on several issues relating to selecting the location of the central bank for West Africa, hosting of the payment system infrastructure, arrangements on the monetary union, finalizing the core legal and institutional framework for monetary union, the status of the central bank of West Africa, the ECOWAS Solidarity and Stabilization Fund, and the ECOWAS Exchange Rate Mechanism, among others. Against this background of the imminent 2027 deadline, and for the establishment of the ECOWAS Monetary Union and the launch of the ECO, I call for the continued cooperation of all member states to ensure that we accomplish the dreams and aspirations of our leaders. In conclusion, honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I urge all member states to redouble our commitments and cooperation by swiftly implementing agreed reforms, strengthening the institutions that support our shared monetary and economic goals, and let us decisively remove the remaining barriers, trade, payments, financial integration, so that together we can build a resilient, prosperous, and truly unified ECOWAS economic and monetary area. May God bless this region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Angura. Let's give him another round of applause, please. After the remarks by the acting chair of the cabinet, there will be a group photo outside. And then following the group photos, there will be tea break before the beginning of the technical sessions. Growing up as a kid in Basa community that is close to the executive mansion, one of the things we look forward to was music from the AFL marching band. We all look forward to that. It is part of our own way of appreciating Liberian music, and just all part of our pastime memories. So I'm pleased right now, and hope our foreign visitors will also join in this. Pleased to invite the Armed Forces of Liberia marching band for my selection.
Honorable Augustine Way Gafwan, Minister of Finance and Development of the Republic of Liberia, Special Representative of the President of ECOWAS Mission, WAMA, WAMI, WAIFEM, Ministers of Finance and Governors of the Central Bank of West African Monetary Zone, Cabinet Ministers, and Head of State-owned enterprises here present, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasing honor now on this occasion to invite to the podium Honorable Ann Oxford Tuareg, the Acting Chair of the Cabinet and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Liberia, for a remark. Honorable Chair.
Please have a seat. Honorable Gafwan, Minister of Finance of Liberia, the Honorable Chairperson of the Convergence Council, the Governor of the Central Bank of Liberia, the Special Representative of the President of the ECOWAS Commission, distinguished Ministers of Finance and Governors of Central Banks, the Director General of the West African Monetary Institute, Excellencies here present, the Deputy Minister of Finance, other officials of government, of the government of Liberia here present, distinguished delegates, representatives of our development partners, friends of the ECOWAS family, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor and a deep sense of responsibility that I stand before you this morning as the proxy of the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Yuma Beka Sr., who reaches out to extend his warm regards and heartfelt congratulations to this very significant gathering. While he is unable to be here with us due to prior commitments, he joins us in spirit. On behalf of the government of the people, of Liberia, permit me to convey to each of you our warmest welcome to this ordinary joint meeting of the various committees. Your presence are representatives of sovereign states, regional institutions, financial authorities, and multilateral partners testify to our shared commitment to deep cooperation, to strengthen institutions, and to move the prosperity of our region forward. We gather at the decisive moment in our history. Across West Africa and the broader continent, the global landscape is changing rapidly. Technology is reshaping economies. Climate change is imposing new constraints and costs, and the legacy of recent shocks, from pandemics to geopolitical tensions, continues to test our resilience. Yet, within these challenges lie extraordinary opportunities for renewed integration, for structural transformation, for inclusive growth that delivers dignity and hope to our people. Our method is informed by two abiding principles. First, that sustainable economic progress is inseparable from the rule of law, transparent governance, and accountable institutions. And second, that regional solidarity, coordinated policy, and pragmatic cooperation are the sure pathways to shared prosperity. I understand that this joint meeting brings together monetary and economic policymakers alongside with those who oversee operations and administration. It's precisely the architecture our region needs. We are not simply discussing numbers and forecasts. We are aligning policy instruments, fiscal, monetary, and administrative, to catalyze investment, stabilize prices, foster employment, and protect the most vulnerable among us. We are committed to reforms that will make our markets more resilient, our currencies more stable, and our financial system more inclusive and robust. Let us be unequivocal. Macroeconomic stability is a cornerstone for development. But stability must be more than statistical achievement. It must translate into tangible improvements in the lives of our citizens. Low inflation, prudent public finance, and sound banking systems are essential, yet they are means, not ends. The ultimate aim is to generate sustainable jobs, to empower entrepreneurs and small businesses, to expand access to quality education and healthcare, and to ensure that the fruits of growth are equitably shared across our societies. This imperative calls for bold, coordinated action on several fronts. First, harmonization and coordination of monetary and fiscal policies across our member states. In an interconnected region, policy spillovers are inevitable. We must therefore enhance our information sharing, strengthen our regional surveillance mechanisms, and commit to policy frameworks that reduce destabilizing imbalances while preserving national policy space where it is needed to protect livelihoods. Second, strengthening financial inclusion and deepening domestic capital markets. We must expand access to banking and digital financial services, particularly for women, youth, and rural populations. We must also build domestic bond markets and other instruments to mobilize long-term finance for infrastructure, agriculture, and SMEs. Public-private partnerships underpinned by transparent procurement and strong legal frameworks will be central to mobilizing the investments our economies urgently need. Third, strengthening governance, transparency, and the rule of law. I emphasize that investors and citizens alike require predictable, impartial, and efficient institutions. Our post-regulatory bodies and anti-corruption institutions must be empowered and resourced to deliver justice swiftly and fairly. Legal institutional reforms that reduce arbitrariness and enhance contract enforcement will directly lower the cost of doing business and attract responsible investment. Fourth, investing in human capital and technological adaptation. The fourth industrial revolution is upon us. To harness these benefits, we must invest aggressively in education, vocational training, digital literacy, and research. Regional programs that facilitate labor mobility, skills recognition, and cross-border digital infrastructure will amplify our capacity to compete and to create decent jobs for our youth. Fifth, integrating climate resilience into macroeconomic planning. Climate risks are macroeconomic risks. We must mainstream adaptation and mitigation into our budgets, fiscal policy, and public investment plans, while leveraging regional cooperation to protect shared natural resources and manage cross-border climate threats. Excellencies, the work before us demands pragmatism and imagination in equal measure. It requires that we move beyond technical analysis to forge binding commitments and implementable roadmaps. It demands that we listen to one another, learn from best practices across our region of the world, and adapt those lessons to our particular national context. Liberia stands ready to play its full part. We are committed to policies that promote macroeconomic stability, inclusive growth, accountable governance. We are eager to deepen cooperation with our neighbors and partners, to harmonize standards, and to participate actively in regional initiatives that strengthen monetary and fiscal resilience. In closing, allow me to offer a call to action that is both moral and practical. Let us use this joint meeting to transform explorations into action, to translate policy prescriptions into concrete reforms, to align our resources and capabilities, and to deliver results that ordinary citizens will see and feel. More jobs, stable prices, better services, and fairer opportunity. Let us be guided by solidarity, by the shared knowledge that when our neighbor prosper, we all prosper. Let us be bold in our ambitions, disciplined in our execution, and steadfast in our commitment to being a better, more secure, and more prosperous future for the generations to come. On behalf, I wish to put forth deliberation, constructive engagement, and outcomes that will chart a stronger course for our region. On behalf of the America and the government of Liberia, I thank you for your dedication and partnership. Let's continue to build a more prosperous and just future for West Africa. In that spirit, I now declare the opening of this 155th section of the Convergence Council. Thank you.
By the way, he and I go to the same church. We are united Methodists. After this, the ushers will guide our dignitaries for group photo outside, and following the group photo, there will be a tea break. Approximately, I don't know how long that will be, maybe 30 minutes or so, but let's hear from the organizer how long, but most likely it will be maybe an hour tea break. Yes. 30 minutes tea break. Okay, so it'll be 30 minutes tea break after the group photo, and following that we'll have the technical sessions. Okay, we're negotiating in time. We can come to an agreement of single currency. We also can have to come to an agreement in time. So, for the 20 minutes or 30 minutes, so we agree on 30 minutes for tea break, 30 minutes for tea break. And so the photograph, the audio now be out following the tea break. All other delegates, please them be seated while we go out for the voting session. All right. I guess we've been overruled by the chair of this session, so it's now put down to 20 minutes tea break. So it's 20 minutes tea break.